So apparently there was an illegal gambling ring in the NBA. We're talking basketball, and the FBI has made multiple arrests, like 30 people charged. Wow. This is my hometown, Portland. What the heck is going on? And I want to look at it with you. It says Portland Trailblazers head coach and Miami Heat player arrested in gambling probes. Chauncey Billups, the head coach of the Portland Trailblazers, and Terry Rozier, a Miami Heat guard, were among the more than 30 people charged in a sports betting illegal poker investigations. What the heck is going on? That's why I'm going through with you. Long-simmering fears over America's sports betting boom erupted in scandal Thursday. And this has actually been a big thing in USA to where legalized sports betting, it's now on your phone. Multiple states are adopting it. And when you get all this money involved, a lot of people are going to get sucked into this stuff, as literally seeing the head coach. So it says, bumped into scandal Thursday morning as FBI agents arrested two high-profile NBA figures, including Hall of Fame guard and Portland Trailblazer coach Chauncey Billups. I'm going to say this. When they're going after someone this big, it really doesn't look good. And then it gets worse. Who authorities said was involved in a mob-run rigged poker scheme and supplied information to sports bettors about his team. Wow. Okay. Billups was arrested in Portland, Oregon, just hours after his Trailblazers lost its season opener, a game Wednesday night. He was charged with money laundering, wire fraud, conspiracy over his alleged participation in rigged poker games that also involved members of mafia crime families, also called La Cosa Nostra. Okay. Agents also arrested Miami Heat player Terry, the head coach, though. Usually it's players, not necessarily head coaches. That's why this is crazy. But he is a former player, so maybe for all we know, it's been going on for years, for all we know. Agents also arrested Miami Heat player Terry Rozier, a former first-round draft pick in Orlando, okay? Authorities allege he participated in sports betting operation that involved sharing information with bettors that wasn't publicly available. He was charged with conspiracy to commit wire fraud and conspiracy to commit money laundering. In all, 35 people were charged in connection with the two cases. Okay. In a press conference we talked about in the last video, Thursday, FBI Director Kash Patel said the historic arrest spread across 11 states. This is big. Involved fraud that is mind-boggling. Tens of millions of dollars in fraud, theft, and robbery across multi-year investigation, he said. Crazy. Quote, not only did we crack into the fraud that these perpetrators committed on the grand stage of the NBA, but we also entered to execute a system of justice against La Cosa Nostra. Okay. The arrests were related to a separate investigation, one called Operation Royal Flush. How do they name these things? Involved high-stakes poker games that were allegedly rigged. And this goes for all of the stuff, guys. I just always assume that the house is always rigged. It's missed my assumption for all this stuff. But it's interesting, though, that they're doing like both poker, I guess, mafia stuff and NBA all together. That's what's crazy. And the thing is, these people have so much money. I mean, I guess you have so much money to just have to party and play. Why not? I suppose from their point of view. The FBI said that several members of the Bonanno Gambino, and it gets even bigger, and Genovese crime families were involved in staging the games. Okay, because you have the La Cosa Nostra people, you got the NBA people, and then you got the Gambinos and the two different crime families. Oh my God. I laugh. I mean, this is, the whole thing is nuts. But this is USA these days, and I just my feeling. I bet you just scratching the surface for this kind of stuff. According to investigators, former athletes like Billups were used to lure unsuspecting players to table for the games. Okay, so I guess what it sounds like is, and it kind of makes sense. You got a lot of young dudes with a bunch of money, right? Gambling, and you've heard, there's been they'll show it on ESPN every now and then where, like, I remember there was a player who did like a FaceTime chat and it leaked out, right? It was like a phone call with someone, and you just kind of got a sense of the culture of what it was. I'll just say it's just kind of what you expect it to be, right? Drinking stuff, playing cards, and lots of female companions around, that kind of environment. Nothing shocking to me, but I didn't know necessarily there's these criminal elements like to this magnitude, though. And this also shows you just how this stuff works, right? You get a bunch of money involved, and suddenly people start popping out of the woodworks, right? And this sort of how these things develop. According to investigators, former athletes like Billups were used to lure unsuspecting players to the table for games that were rigged using tampered shuffling machines. Hidden cameras and even an x-ray table that could reveal cards. Oh my God. The basketball players were called face cards. Oh wow, they got so many details here. And honestly, guys, I want to show you this side of stuff. So like when Patel and the bunch come out and say, whatever charges against whatever people, that's what you want to look at. Like show me the evidence, and we'll just look at it fairly. I mean, they got so much stuff here. The basketball players were called face cards and received a portion of criminal proceeds in exchange for their participation in the scheme. And they use in capital letters. That must be sort of like the lingo among these crime families, I guess. Prosecutors say Billups participated in a 2019 game in Las Vegas. This is a long time ago. That's 6 years ago. That included a tampered shuffling machine, while the indictment statement states that the rigged poker schemes defrauded victims of $7.15 million in total. Wow. The game allegedly involved Billups defrauding victims of at least $50,000. Okay. The other case was dubbed by investigators as Nothing But Bet. Okay, so we have two cases. The one was the Operation Royal Flush, and the second one is Nothing But Bet. I think it's a play on the words Nothing But Net. Like, who names this stuff? Well, at least they're creative over the FBI. And focus on suspicious bets placed on NBA games. Okay. Prosecutors said the bets were traced back to inside information supplied by players, including Rozier and others. Billups is implicated, but not named or charged in the sports betting case. Okay, so there's two different things going on. You got the poker and the sports betting. And I also want to make this clear. If we're going to enforce this kind of stuff, you should also enforce things regarding Wall Street, Elon Musk, and any of these sort of things. I think all crime should be enforced. I just want to make that clear. So, and we'll go through it. Like, for example, just today, I saw that Trumpers, I think he pardoned a couple crypto people, which I like I said, I think you should treat all of this the same. Also, it just shows how, they'll get you focused on this stuff, but then ignore the other thing. And I just, my opinion on things is treat all law the same, right? Enforce all the law, not just some of it. But I am curious, so this is an unusual one. Before a game on March 24th, 2023, according to indictment, Billups told another defendant, Eric Ernest, that the Trailblazers were going to be tanking. Oh, okay. So this is not just a gambling scandal or, a betting scandal. It's also, teams have always been accused of losing games on purpose, essentially for draft picks. But to actually have evidence of said things, for those who like sports, you know exactly what I'm talking about here. You always kind of know when they're tanking, but losing on purpose. But wow, for the head coach, okay. The Trailblazers were going to be tanking to increase their odds of getting a better draft pick, in the upcoming NBA draft. The sports world is going to go nuts over this stuff and how often this happens. I mean, we all kind of know, but this is like, if they may have this on tape possibly or whatever. And several key players were sitting out that night's game, right? So you just don't play your best players, basically. According to the indictment, Ernest then shared that information with another co-defendant, and multiple bets were placed in the game, totaling around $100,000. The Trailblazers lost the game 124-96, so they definitely lost. The indictment does not suggest that Billups played any role in placing of bets or he received any money in return for the inside information that was used. I see. Well, that's interesting. How would you charge this kind of thing if you've got the information, but you're not necessarily placing bets yourself? But there could be people connected, and obviously you don't. It damages the spirit of the game, as you guys all know. But it's not just Billups. This goes on all over sports and pro sports. The early morning arrests also included former NBA player Damon Jones, who was implicated in both cases. Jones played parts of 11 seasons in the NBA from 98 to 2009, including 5 seasons with the Cleveland Cavaliers. And just as a side note, many people who watch sports always wonder or speculate, however you want to say it, whether or not games are fixed in terms of like the refs fixing games and stuff like that. So for those who watch pro sports, I'd be curious if you guys, say in Europe or other countries, if you guys think that about your professional sports. Just curious. People always talk about that stuff in U.S. sports. Now, sometimes it's disgruntled fans. Oh, you just hate my team, whatever. Other times, I'll say this, some people do have a case. So there's a lot of things that go on in USA, but this is just one of them. The felony charges threaten to send basketball players and coaches to prison for years if prosecuted and can earn convictions. Each of the two charges faced by Billups, Rozier, and Jones carry a maximum sentence of 20 years. But I'm curious about all the other people. They said, what was it, like 35 people involved with this? And then what about those crime families or the mafia thing? I mean, there's a whole bunch of people. According to Joseph Nokella Jr., U.S. Attorney for the Eastern District of New York, from 2022 to 2024, players include Jones, Rozier aided a network of bettors by supplying inside information that included when players would sit out games. Oh, okay. That's pretty big. Like you'll know when the best player is not going to play, that kind of stuff. Or when they might pull themselves early for, quote, purported injuries or illness. Yeah, and medical reports would matter too. In a statement Thursday afternoon, NBA spokesperson Mark Broussard said the league is still reviewing the indictments. Okay. Terry Rozier and Chauncey Billups are being placed on immediate leave from their teams and will continue to cooperate with the relevant authorities. And then again, this is all allegations. It seems like a strong case, in my opinion. But they have a right to defend themselves, of course. We take these allegations with the utmost seriousness, and the integrity of our game remains our top priority. The Heat did not respond to requests for comment. A spokesman for the Blazers said in a statement that Thiago Splitter will serve as interim head coach. Okay, so yeah, Bill is not going to be doing it for now. The team is actually up for sale also, the last I heard. I don't know if they've actually made a sale or not, and there's been talk whether or not they would leave Portland. I'm assuming they're not going to leave, but you never know with this stuff. And then you got this scandal, right? Billups, 49, so about my age, appeared in 5 All-Star games. Yeah, he was a player of the Pistons. He was a good player, actually. He earned $106 million during his playing career, so a decent chunk of change there. He went into coaching shortly thereafter, retiring in 2014. He's been the head coach since 2021. So that's Rozier there from the Heat. If you guys are basketball fans, you know who these people are. The Boston Celtics made Rozier the 16th overall pick in the 2015 draft out of Louisville. And the reason why you go over this, you just want to show these guys are well-known players, right? And they made a bunch of money, etc. And then what else it says here? According to the indictment, Rozier alerted bettors he would remove himself from the March 2023 game early, citing a supposed injury. Those bettors then placed wagers that Rozier would underperform in the game and fail to reach oddsmakers' projected marks. So I guess now you can bet on a player's particular performance. I mean, sports betting has gotten so complicated these days, and if indeed you can bet on anything. Will someone score 3 touchdowns or 4 touchdowns, or will someone score over, in basketball, say over 30 points or under? How many threes would someone hit? How many fouls? I mean, you can probably bet anything these days. Rozier left the game after 9.5 minutes, scoring 5 points, recording 2 assists, well short of his season averages, right? So, yeah. In a statement, okay, we'll see this later. Jimmy Trusty, that's his name. Jim Trusty. I'm telling you, they're going to call him Jimmy. Jimmy Trusty, that's the lawyer's name. That's pretty funny. Jim Trusty, Rozier's lawyer, said that Rozier is not a gambler, okay, and that, quote, he looks forward to winning this fight, okay. He called it a non-case and said investigators had previously characterized the player as a subject, not a target. Okay. Maybe they have a right to defend themselves. But at 6 a.m. this morning, they called to tell me FBI agents were trying to arrest him in a hotel. It is unfortunate that instead of allowing him to self-surrender, they opted for a photo op. That's fair. They wanted to misplace glory on embarrassing a professional athlete with a perp rock. That tells you a lot about motivations in this case. They appear to be taking the word of a spectacularly incredible sources rather than relying on active evidence of wrongdoing. Okay, so the lawyer's coming out saying my guy is innocent. Well, just saying, or more saying, you handled it improperly, I guess, is the defense there. Rozier was expected to appear in federal court in Orlando on Thursday. Billups was due in a Portland courtroom, according to court filings. I think we're all shut down, though, so I'm not sure if any of this stuff is running. I mean, who knows, honestly. The indictment states that Jones, 49, on multiple occasions following the immigrant career, sold or attempted to sell inside information to gamblers. The indictment called Jones an unofficial coach with the LA Lakers, another team, during the 2023 season, and says he used personal relationship with others, including a team trainer and star player LeBron James, to extract information. So that's this guy. That's Jones there. Interesting. On February 9th, so this is all from 2023, it looks like. The indictment alleges Jones learned that James, who was just 2 days removed from setting the NBA's all-time scoring record, would be unable to play in the night's game against Milwaukee Bucks. Get a big bet on Milwaukee tonight before the information is out. He texted. Oh, if they've got the text, that looks bad. Yeah. James, who was not implicated or specifically named in indictment, missed the game, and the Lakers lost 115-106. Right? No comment from the Lakers. In a separate court filing, prosecutors said Jones demanded his payment for a rigged game in East Hampton, New York, before it began. Give me my money, right? The organizer sent Jones $2,500 later that day. Okay, so they must have the evidence of that. Others coached Jones in real time on how to cheat, guiding him through it by likening other players at the table to NBA superstars, according to indictment. Okay, so how do you cheat? Yeah, well, I don't know I don't think they're necessarily dropping the ball on purpose, but maybe you're not taking a good shot, or not giving it a all. But I'd be kind of curious how they do it, and if it's obvious on tape. Remember, if you have to think hard about a call, just fold. Okay. Read one text message to Jones. It counseled him to think of one of the other participants in the scheme playing that night. Oh, we're talking about poker, aren't we? Steph referred a reference to Steph Curry and another to LeBron. Wow. Jones responded, according to court filings, "Y'all know I know what I'm doing. Let me hibachi like Gilbert Arenas." Okay. The reference to former NBA star arrested on illegal gambling charges earlier this year. There might be multiple players involved with this stuff. According to court filings, Jones filed for bankruptcy twice after his playing career ended. And what did it say here? At the time, more recent filings, he owed $47,589 to Bellagio. Wow, that's in Vegas. And, a lot of these guys, they get taken to, you could say taken advantage of, but they are adults. So you are in full control. But we'll just say this. It's just a lot of young people, a lot of money flying around. You're traveling all the time. It's just that kind of lifestyle. So not everyone gets suckered into this stuff, but, if they're definitely, I'll just say this, there are definitely predators out there to take advantage of young people with a lot of money, right? 7 years since the Supreme Court struck down a federal ban on sports betting, 38 states and Washington, D.C. now offer some form of legal sports gambling. That's quite a bit. So there's some that don't yet. But I remember when I first started seeing this stuff, it was actually when I grew up in Oregon, right? So, and people would do it as like machines, and you would just do like the spreads. I remember that was a new way to bet, because at the time, before it was just like win or lose. But once you didn't do point spreads, it changed everything. And now it's like even more more complicated, and you got it on your phone, and it's advertised everywhere. I think these problems are only going to get worse, to be frank. And then the other issue we talked before on the channel is where there's like a gambling sort of help hotline, and there's been like fights on who controls that, because obviously the gambling industry would want to control that said hotline and not actually help people the stuff, because in my opinion, all this stuff, like it's highly addictive for it's young and old. A lot of people a lot of people get abused with this stuff. And it's not just the players. I'm just saying it affects a lot of people. So this is definitely not a victimless crime here. It's I know we make jokes about this stuff, but it does affect real people involved, right? And then also it shows that many of these kind of things that there are certainly big money and insiders who are on, let's say on the winning end of bargains. Right? Whenever you hear people winning, there's always someone losing said things, right? So although professional sports leagues have partnered with gambling operators and cash in on the arrangement, it's all about money, they've also been wary about pitfalls posed by rampant wagering. Federal investigations have reported looking into suspicious gambling activities involving former Pistons guard Malik Beasley, centered on games of 2023-24. So all these things are like basically they must have really focused on this a couple years ago then. And in 2024, Jonte Porter, a former Toronto Raptors player, was given a lifetime ban from the NBA over accusations of giving confidential information to bettors placing bets on NBA games. He pleaded guilty to the federal charge, conspiracy to commit, so they get him on wire fraud and other things. Noel said Porter was threatened by some of the men charged Thursday, made susceptible because of his pre-existing gambling debts. So you end up blowing a bunch of money, so you're kind of screwed that way. I'd be curious though if they do go after some of the crime families and such, because these are the stars that we all know, but there's going to be a lot of other people like that behind these things. If you are going to in charge of stuff, you should go after also. So that's my thoughts on this. I did want to go through this with you guys. I'd like to hear your thoughts. How widespread do you think this is? And have you heard this happening in your country if you're not necessarily, in America? I'd love to hear like going on around the world on this stuff. Thank you for your time, and I'll catch you on the next video.